Now, Eyewitness Sports.
The long-awaited return of Double OT with Ruthie and
back.
Maury, and it's necessitated because of the big URI PC game on Saturday. You guys ready for this? This is your
so ready.
first, your second. I've been to a bunch growing up here and covering them. All right, before we break it down, let's talk big macro level. Early December right now, each team has played 5-6 games. What's at stake for these teams right now?
Well, I think it's a little different than last year, especially because there was so much at stake for Dan Hurley. Had never beaten Ed Cooley, and maybe it was Hurley's last, game against PC at the Ryan Center. It was just there was a lot at stake. URI was trying to get that at-large bid, so there was so much going on last year, whereas this year it feels a little different in terms of, both teams are just so young, and it seems like there's going to be a learning curve throughout the whole entire season. There might not be an at-large bid for the A10 this year. So that's kind of, I think, where URI stands, because this could potentially be a big win for URI, whereas PC, I think, they're going to do okay in the Big East moving forward, is my opinion.
So I think for the A10, obviously, the league's up in the air this year. So I think a young team, guard-heavy team, but a young team like Rhode Island, I think if they can get this win on the road, prove to themselves that they can beat a Big East quality team like they did last year, but last year was at home, I think that then they can kind of rise to the top of the A10. I think this kind of gives them the belief, middle of the out-of-conference schedule to then move up. For Providence, if you lose this game, you're going to have to win a lot of games in the Big East, and you're going to have to win a lot of hard games in the Big East, because top to bottom, I think the Big East has improved from last year to this year. And if Providence wins, then I think they're right on track for an at-large bid.
There's more to gain for URI, more to lose for PC, right? A win for URI, as you documented, is huge for their resume. A loss for PC, I don't think kills them. They've had some ugly losses at a conference in years past that they've recovered from. As long as they get 9, 10 wins in the Big East, that sample has been good for them the last couple of years to secure a Big East bid. What you were saying about completely different vibe, because a totally different cast of characters. Obviously, this is David Cox's first time in the rivalry. He's been in it as an assistant the last couple years. I know he's friendly with Ed Cooley, but this is a game we all hype up. He said this week he likes that it's on the road. And I think that's cool too. I think there's less pressure on URI, because I think most people are picking Providence. Last year, I believe there was pressure on URI because Dan Hurley was 0 for 5 coming into that, and they got it done. So if they win, it's great. I don't think they're necessarily expected to win. So a lot of upside for URI, not a lot of downside. But PC's expected to win, so maybe more pressure on them.
Yeah, I think all in all, this game is going to be exciting. The atmosphere is electric. I haven't been to one of these games at the Dunk yet, so that's going to be amazing. The Ryan Center
was awesome.
Was amazing last year. One of the coolest games I've ever been to in my sports career. But what I think is just so going to be interesting about this game is to see how, which I think URI has been struggling with at home even, is finding your role offensively, most importantly. If it was with Fats last year coming off the bench and being this exciting young player, kind of a spark off the bench. Now he's in this leadership role where he wants to score, and there's also a balance between him and Jeff Doughton, which I think is, something for them to figure out. In this, and in this atmosphere is going to be the real test to see if URI can really start to form their identity.
Yeah, I think Fats, he's trying to figure out, now you're a leader, you're a starter. Last year he was quintessential spark plug off the bench, like you said. Jermaine Harris had a good game against Brown, and Cyril Langevin had 17 and 15 or whatever it was. So can URI establish themselves down low where PC has much bigger bodies than Brown? That will have to be the case, because when your shots aren't falling on the road in a tough, difficult environment, it's tough to win games. And Jeff Doughton and Fats shot awful against Brown. So if they shoot like that at the Dunk, they're going to lose by double digits.
Yeah, no, they were awful against Brown, and they were also not too good against Harvard as well the Friday beforehand. But I think the one thing, going back to David Cox, that I really like about such a young coach is he trusts his players, and I think his players feel that vibe on the court. And, to have the confidence to shoot that ball comes from Fats Russell, but I think it also, comes from David Cox, that game winner against Harvard. Fats is shooting just 25% from the floor, like you said. He's got to pick it up. He's got to be one of the alpha dogs. Guard play can help a team out big time on the road. David Cox lets his players play. He didn't use too many timeouts down the stretch in a close game against Harvard. And I think on the road in an atmosphere in an atmosphere like this, he's going to have to change his style a little bit, maybe call a timeout or two, because the crowd can get wild if you kind of fall 5-6 points behind, because that's a swing time.
As a side note to that, what I've really loved and appreciated about David Cox's first couple games as a head coach in Rhode Island, he's really taking a lot of responsibility for mistakes, and that eases the learning curve not only for him and his guys and building that trust between him and his guys, but I think it's also building trust between the fan base in Rhode Island, which I think is an underrated part of Rhode Island basketball, because that's something that we have here in Rhode Island that not every state has in New England, is college basketball. So I think I've really enjoyed watching Dave take responsibility for mistakes that he thinks he's made, but also holding his guys accountable. It's just really kind of eased his transition.
Yeah, well, Stony Brook, they were
and I liked how he said, I really want. I'm looking forward to this test for myself on the road.
And it's crazy because when we were looking at video from last year, you see all the seniors. You see E.C. Matthews and Jared Terrell, and then you see Rodney Bullock and Jalen Lindsey and all those guys. And this year it's a whole new cast of characters. PC started 3 freshmen against, who did they play the other night? I'm drawing a blank. Fairleigh Dickinson. Whether or not that's the case at URI, Ed Cooley was kind of moving his lineup around. But so when you look at the freshmen from PC, the freshmen from URI, maybe this game comes down to freshmen.
Right.
And in a rivalry game, you wonder what the nerves are like for those guys. David Duke grew up in Providence, went to Classical before transferring, so he's been a part of this rivalry. So
if you remember too, Fats Russell was the star last year.
He was the star last year.
It was a coming out game. He scored 20 points.
It'll probably come down to Alpha Diallo and the veterans on these teams as to who wins this game.
Right.
And Diallo's been unbelievable.
Yeah, we
this
talked
year.
a lot about URI, but to touch on PC, and I want to let you talk, but Alpha Diallo has been a stud, and I've really enjoyed watching him take on this leadership role, which I think he was kind of itching to get into last year with that kind of senior-heavy group. But now with him as the older guy on the team, he's really taken responsibility, and it's cool to watch him kind of floor direct as the beginning of the season. You kind of see guys emerge in their leadership roles, and it's been I've really enjoyed watching Alpha Diallo be that guy and getting his guys to move where he wants them on the floor and just kind of show his stuff.
Any chance AJ Reeves erupts like he did opening night?
Yeah, I think he could. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think you know what you're going to get out of Alpha Diallo, out of AJ Reeves, maybe out of David Duke, but maybe not so much. I think that the key X factor for Providence is Isaiah Jackson, a 5th-year player who started the season in the starting lineup, and Ed Cooley puts him on the bench, and now he's your 6th man. So I think it's a big spark plug for Providence. They're 3-0 when he scores in double figures, so I think to kind of get him going, to get the second unit going, is going to be a big key when you want to kind of sit Alpha Diallo, maybe give him a 5-minute break, and you put in Isaiah Jackson, or you want to play them alongside of each other. I think it's going to be key to get Isaiah Jackson, get him the ball. He's obviously played in a ton of college games right now, being in his 5th year, and I think it's going to be big time for the Friars to get him going.
Evan Holt didn't play against Fairleigh Dickinson, neither did
Malik White. I was going to say Malik White could be a Y factor, if you will. Like, just I really, the way that he's been able to come off the bench and kind of give a spark to the offense has been key, I think, in certain games.
All right, how does this one go down? How are we projecting this?
I think home court is so huge in these kinds of games. PC obviously winning, the 5 before URI won, right? 5? Before, because Hurley
might have been more. It was all 5 of Dan Hurley's tenure. URI, I don't think, has won at the dunk since 03.
Wow. Right. So I think that that's telling. And with this young URI team, it's hard to pick them, who still seems to be filling some holes and finding some guys' roles. So I'm gonna go with the Friars. I know people watch this, so I'm like,
do we have a line on this game? What's the line on this game?
I know it comes out today.
It comes out today.
Go ahead, talk. I'm gonna look for it.
So, yeah, I think in college basketball, the big thing, like we talked about, is, if your guard play is dominant, I think that can kind of cover up a lot of what's underneath the team, and maybe lack of coaching, lack of big man, whatever arises in any game. So I think the guard play is actually in URI's favor. However, on the road, Ed Cooley has won 70% of his games in his career in games decided by 6 points or less. I think the home crowd in that scenario, I think, just gives Providence the edge. I think they have the intangibles. I think they win by 7 or 8 points.
It'll be
I
close.
think the spread will be around there.
It'll come down to free throws at the end. I think Providence will be able to hang on. I do want to say, which we haven't touched on really at all, but defense. I mean, that has been Rhode Island basketball for for the Dan Hurley tenure or whatever. They have really branded themselves as a defensive, guard-oriented team. And I think right now URI probably wins the battle of defense, especially with Cyril, the big guy, Cyril being able to like pull down some, some key boards.
I like PC's depth much more than I like URI.
Of course.
The other thing is, does PC play zone? If URI can't hit a shot like the other night, how does that play out?
Yeah.
I like Providence. I like their freshmen a lot contributing, and then you have Alpha Diallo, you have Malik, you got all these guys, Isaiah Jackson, who've been in this rivalry, played here before. They're going to go on a 8-1 run, a 9-2 run, and it's going to get to double digits. I think they end up winning by 6 or 7 over URI, but I have the Friars. So we all picked PC?
All picked PC.
Picking Friars.
Yeah.
See what happens. All right.
Double OT, we're back.
We're so back. Our schedules are difficult for us to find time to tape this in the fall with all the Patriots and
with
the
the
high
World
school
Series,
stuff.
those darn Red Sox just really.
But yeah, we'll have to call us out if URI wins.
Please do. Please do. And you know what? Maybe this will give them a little edge.
There you go. All right. Thanks for joining us. For Maury and Ruthie, I'm Yanni. We'll see you next time.